It's always good to have my next guest, but normally under better circumstances. Ken, there have been some really troubling crimes happening in the past, let's say, 2 weeks. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's good to be with you. It's been the last, 10 days or so have been some of the busiest portion of my, career really. But this week it looks like we're getting a little bit back to normalcy. We got the congressional hearings going on right now with Kash Patel. I only got to tune in for a little bit of that, but it seems like he's getting cooked pretty badly by both sides about Epstein, which is good.
Yeah, I think you and I definitely agree that Kash Patel, he was a surprising choice. I know he's kind of like a MAGA podcasting hero, but I just, for good reasons, not just looking at him and holding my finger up to the wind, I don't think he is the appropriate choice for FBI director, and I don't think he's been doing a good job. As you just pointed out, I think a lot of people were pretty upset. You know, he went on Joe Rogan, he's been on Fox News, talking about Epstein, saying there's no there. I'm so sick of hearing that. That's such a trite kind of phrase, but there is quite a lot of there. Who believes that there are no videos? What were they collecting at that island? We saw the FBI through the window with boxes of stuff.
Yeah, and he said, similar line for the Butler shooting. I think he said, "I don't know if there's more to know," in response to, I think, Maria Bartiromo. So I think, the Democrats are kind of focusing on him supposedly purging the FBI. I don't think that's a winning issue for Democrats. I don't think anyone really cares about that except people that live in the Beltway, the really hardcore liberals. I think if they were smart, they would push him on Epstein and Butler, and also how he handled this case, the Charlie Kirk case that we're
Right.
probably going to discuss a lot today.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. We already know that we've got a guy who mishandled one assassination attempt, lied about one of the biggest criminals of the century. Why would anyone believe that he's conducting a sound investigation into this really troubling murder of Charlie Kirk? And Ken, I know you're doing great reporting, and I think people are starting to notice. It looks like your JD cashless X account is growing rapidly, and that is well deserved. I want to make sure that people watching us now realize they can follow you there on X at JD underscore cashless, and they can also read your excellent reporting on headlineusa.com. Why don't you tell us what some of the latest stories are and what you're finding?
Well, when it comes to the Charlie Kirk case, I think a lot of people have seen this, that they arrested that other, at one time, a person of interest, George Zinn. He's like a 71-year-old guy who, right after the shooting, he made a scene saying, "Oh, I'm the shooter, arrest me or shoot me." And he admitted when he was taken to the Utah police station, Utah Valley University, the college police, that yes, did this on purpose so the assassin could get away. It seems, just without knowing too much information,
Wow.
I don't know if he's actually connected. It seems like he's a crazy guy who likes to make a scene at any event. And when you think about, a crowd full of, well, if like 4,000 people were there, you got a 1 in 4,000 chance that there's going to be somebody crazy who does something like that. So I'm not suggesting that he was necessarily in on some sort of conspiracy plot, but it looks like he's getting a felony charge, and hopefully he'll go to jail for quite a while because that's just disgusting behavior.
Absolutely crazy. Wasn't that guy also identified by people as having been something to do with 9/11 or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, I wish I would have looked into that more closely before I jumped on. It's just, this, I've been like trying to drink out of a fire hose, just trying to keep up with everything. So I haven't looked into too much about that, but yeah, I heard that, and he had some link to the Boston bombing too. So weird guy, but these older, washed up hippie types, they tend to pop up like that sometimes, I guess, to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I mean, but listen, doesn't it go to a lot of people talk about they have crisis actors and people who get inserted into these things. It goes back to what we were just saying about Kash Patel. A lot of people have doubts about the FBI. You've covered tons of stuff. By the way, it's important for people to know they can also sponsor Ken on Substack at substack.com/@KenSilva. Right after this segment, we're going to be doing a sponsor exclusive. We're going to dive even deeper into all of these topics. So join us, visit Ken's Substack and subscribe there for that sponsor exclusive content. Subscribers to Crowdsource the Truth can also join us on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And also people who follow me on X and subscribe there will get that content. But Ken, you have done incredible work. I mean, I would say it's really an area of focus for you. And I love this about your reporting and the work you're doing on Headline USA. You've made it a focus of your career to, look into all this FBI malfeasance, how they're sometimes, it seems, even staging these events. If we've got a guy like this George Zinn, who's constantly appearing at these questionable events, where the FBI director Kash Patel tells us that I think it's called a 30-06 round, a gigantic hunting round, and the rifle has the scope mounted incorrectly, and we see videos where it doesn't look like the guy is carrying a scope, and there's nothing to see with Epstein, and there's nothing more to learn about Butler, PA. He's not interested in Detective Gian Vito's phone. Don't we have to ask if this guy George Zinn is put there by the FBI?
By the FBI? Yeah, I guess we would have to ask that, and that's for hopefully investigators to look into. I guess I haven't really done anything original on the Kirk case except try to follow every single story that comes out. Like my reporting methodology, I've largely relied on the New York Times and the Washington Post and what the FBI is saying, and I'm just trying to pay hyper attention and focus on the inconsistencies. Like they say he arrived at the campus at 8 a.m. and he was in one set of clothes. We don't have hardly any footage other than a few Ring doorbell cameras of supposedly his Dodge Charger. We don't know where he parked. From 8 a.m. to about 11:50 a.m., he's totally unaccounted for. He then appears in another set of clothes, the dark shirt that we all have seen by now. He's limping. I guess people have suggested that's because he might have the rifle in his pants, which, by the way, it just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah, because this is like a big rifle. It's not even a shotgun or anything like that. It's like a 46-inch monster hunting rifle.
It's like, are you happy to see me, or is that a 46-inch rifle in your pants?
Yeah, I made that joke on Twitter. But he has a cell phone in his pocket, which if you think this guy was...
But wait, hang on. Let me stop you on the rifle in the pants, Ken, because the FBI did release this security footage. If the guy is limping and he's just jumped off of a roof, isn't the most logical conclusion that he hurt his leg? I mean, look at this. He's like a parkour non-expert, just like flopping off of this. I mean, boom, injury right there.
Well, he's seen limping before the shooting, and the suggestion is that he had the rifle in his pants.
Is it established, though, that that's before? Is the Ring camera, does it definitely have the right time? Have any of these things been manipulated? Where do we get that Ring camera from? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been proven beyond a shadow of doubt in my mind. We don't even know that it was really Tyler Robinson, obviously. I have doubts about that. So yeah, all of this is still up in the air. We've got a lot of questions, and the FBI cash app is posturing as like he's being transparent because he's released that one limited footage of the guy jumping off the roof that you just played. But the campus has surveillance footage everywhere, and if you really want to try to restore trust in public institutions, release it all. I don't see any good reason why he wouldn't.
Yeah. No, I agree. There should be quite a lot of video coverage. The other thing that I've been looking into, we had Adam Bartholomew, who is just a local guy who's got a son who goes to college over there. And so he decided to cover the event. He's just a hobbyist live streamer. and he had continuous over an hour of footage. I was surprised. He was one of the only people doing that kind of live stream. Wouldn't, I don't know how closely you followed Turning Point USA. I've been to some of their events, but I can't say that I watch all their live streams or anything like that. Would they normally live stream? I mean, this was their first event in a big Charlie Kirk national tour of colleges. Why weren't they live streaming the event? They had cameras everywhere too.
Yeah, that's another question. I'm not familiar with Charlie Kirk very much. To me, he was a pretty uninteresting guy. He was kind of a mainstream Republican. Some of his rhetoric was edgy, I guess. He would, goes on campus and debates college kids who don't even know the difference between a boy or a girl. Like stuff. This is stuff Ben
But
Shapiro.
that's edgy today, isn't it? I mean, that was.
I suppose, but isn't this what Ben Shapiro was doing 10 years ago? I mean, it's just mainline Republicanism. So to me, like a more edgier guy is somebody like Nick Fuentes. I think Charlie Kirk, his rhetoric is edgy. Yes, he does inflame people, but his actual politics is just mainline Republicanism. So it actually really shocked me that apparently, yeah, college kids and leftists really hate this guy. I was not aware. That's a real blind spot for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, again, just in terms of their live streaming schedule,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed to me, I don't know if they would typically live stream an event like this or not, but they
Well, you
didn't.
saw they took the cameras down behind
Yeah,
him. That was
right.
very weird for me because
It's a
and
crime
this
scene.
that's a crime scene, and one of the reasons that I don't think this is our typical FBI sting operation, perhaps, is because it took the FBI 16 minutes to respond. And if you look at other like highly bizarre cases, like something that you study, TWA, the FBI is on the scene in like 2 minutes, and that's a big tell that they're kind of in on it. So
Right.
here I'm actually, I'm open to the idea that it is as it seems, and it was some sort of like tranny death cult that did this as opposed to
Ooh.
like an inside job. But it is bizarre that Kirk's staff would tamper with the crime scene before the FBI even arrived.
Yeah, and I've been seeing an increasingly convincing number of videos that show that it's possible that what they're telling us about the bullet is just not true. Here they are. This is Adam Bartholomew's live stream. He captured them taking down the camera. I mean, this is why it's so important for people when there are important events happening. Just go there and, record on your phone, live stream on your phone. I would say set the phone to 4K if you can. Why are these guys just taking that camera? What did it capture? A lot of people. Here's the other thing. Charlie Kirk was shot, they're telling us, with a high-powered rifle from a guy 140 yards away on a roof, right? So he's sitting like here. Shouldn't there be a mess of, I'm sorry to be, I don't want to freak anybody out, but shouldn't there be a lot of blood splatter on this white wall right here? The guy just got shot and was bleeding like crazy.
Yeah, I mean the Butler Secret Service sniper who shot the assassin, would-be assassin, used a similar caliber, 300 Win Mag, and that went in the neck, out the neck, back in the shoulder, fragmented, and made 2 re-exit wounds, according to the autopsy. And of course, you see blood splattered
Everywhere, all
everywhere.
over the roof.
So yeah, another really interesting question. I guess one I haven't like again, this is like what you and guys like John Colin do is analyze the video. I'm more of like go through court documents and read all the stories. That's kind of my more specialty, but I have seen some suggestions that it might have ricocheted off some body armor and
No
up in the
way. I got to stop you
no?
there. Nope.
Okay, well, tell me.
Because you see Charlie walking around throwing hats minutes before this occurs, and he's wearing either it's cotton or one of these kind of like rayon, like a Under Armour, like a synthetic material that really kind of contours with your body. And there's no way he's got body armor under there. What he had was a lavalier microphone and a wire from that under the shirt that when he gets shot, you see the wire of the microphone for a second, and that makes it look like there's some kind of plate there. And I did look into even like covert. They have like executive soft body armor that you could wear, I guess, under other body armor or under a suit so somebody can't see it. But even if he was wearing that, that's like high-tech woven fabric. It's not going to ricochet. That I think even if you get shot, it just prevents the bullet from like going through you. It's still like getting punched in the chest by a truck, and you're likely to die from shock to your heart and breaking your ribs and stuff like that. So I definitely don't think he had any body armor, but I do appreciate your approach to looking at all the news and saying just what's wrong with what they're telling us in the news. We also don't want to forget, we have to talk about the horrible murder of Iryna Zarutska. That's another one where, there were people saying, oh, this poor guy who killed her. It seems like the sympathy is with the murderers, and Elon Musk, who I frequently disagree with, he put it well when he said the left is the party of murder. I want to ask you this. I've been asking everybody this. As horrible as these killings were, don't you find it shocking, Ken, that more than one like fringe lunatic would openly celebrate the death of a person?
Yeah, it's really it's honestly crazy because if you look, like, there are legitimate like far right neo-Nazi terrorists in America, and whenever something like that pops off on the right wing, Republicans and conservatives totally disavow it and say, "Hey, that's not us. We are
Right.
not, like, we are distinct from actual Nazis." Where you don't see that on the left as much. I mean, some of the Democrats, like the politicians, have been paying lip service, guys like Gavin Newsom. But yeah, by and large, there's like professors, there's real professionals that are, celebrating this. Maybe not as much with the train stabbing, but certainly with the Kirk murder. I guess one thing I would caution before we react to too many accounts is there's probably a lot of these anonymous accounts that are celebrating it. Could be, feds, they could be foreign state actors, they could be bots.
Agitators.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of agitators out there. So I would just tell people only react to people who are doing this in real life with their real identity. Otherwise, you might just be part of a psyop.
Exactly. And there's a lot of that going on. It's interesting too. This is a little bit of a side note, but I noticed this yesterday as well, that Maureen Comey is suing the DOJ and Trump. Um, what can you tell us about this briefly? I mean, this is shocking. Presidents frequently fire basically Bill Clinton established this. It was never done before Clinton, but it's become something of a tradition now that when a new president comes in, they kind of clean house at the DOJ, fire the U.S. attorneys and install their own U.S. attorneys. I don't even think Maureen Comey was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. What do you make of this lawsuit?
No, yeah, I think she was like one of the deputies or something like that. But
Yeah,
to me, this is like pro wrestling show. Maybe she's filing a lawsuit to get her name in the news again so she can keep her profile up. But as you know, the declaration you're filing here shows in June 2024, she actually helped keep the Epstein files secret under the
right.
Biden administration, citing a concern that, like, oh, Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal might succeed, she might get a new trial, so we have to keep him secret. So when the Trump administration fired her, I said, no, that's a huge mistake because now if you're having like an internal investigation, you can't compel her to participate in an interview because she's not an employee anymore. So I think the firing was a big mistake. They should have kept her on, maybe take her off certain high profile cases. But to me, this is like firing actually helped Trump if it really is his goal to cover up the Epstein stuff.
But that's an interesting angle, but can't they still just subpoena her in a congressional investigation or an FBI investigation? It doesn't matter if she works for them or not, if she gets subpoenaed.
They could, but then that's like two more steps. Like, we know Congress isn't going to do that, and even if they did, she could ignore it, and then Congress would have to do a criminal referral to the DOJ, which would get ignored probably. the DOJ could do it, but it looks like the DOJ is part of the cover-up. So I think the best thing, if like they could have done an inspector general investigation, and then if she's still an employee, she would be compelled to participate in an interview.
Well, couldn't
And
she refuse there and also say, I'm quitting, fire me?
yeah, then
She
she
could
would,
have.
but that would
It's
be
an
on
interesting
her.
angle, but I'm going to push back here, Ken. And the main reason is this lawsuit is being run by protectdemocracy.org, which is another one of these sort of Norm Eisen affiliated 501c3, 501c4 conglomerates. And it was interesting because Norm Eisen, not long ago, he had a tweet. Protect Democracy. He had a tweet in April where he was saying, "Oh, we have this fantastic lawsuit." Well, I don't have it handy right now, but the incredibly objectionable and highly questionable Norm Eisen had a tweet in April where he's like, "Ooh, hooray, we're doing a lawsuit with protectdemocracy.com." And the lawyers on that were Nina Jankowicz's attorneys, the Geller Law Group. So let me find this here because I want to make sure. Protect Democracy. It's sometimes hard to find stuff on Twitter, you know. So he's talking about his colleagues at Brookings Institute. Let's see, maybe if we do it like this.
And
Well,
I don't know. It seems to me like they're wasting their donors' money. I don't see how this lawsuit is going to move forward.
Well, that's just it. They're all about wasting their donors' money because what happens is the money is tax exempt and it gets funneled through these organizations where they pay attorneys who. So here we filed a lawsuit versus Doge. He's just saying they keep fighting to protect democracy. Where was this thing in April? I'll have to find it later. I'll retweet it later, but that's the game with these guys is that they set up these 501c3, 501c4 conglomerates. Crew is part of it. Protect Democracy is part of it. Democracy Defenders is part of it. And then what they do is it's essentially millionaires can donate money that is tax deductible to the 501c3, and then they send it to a 501c4, or they have a 501c4 office in the same location that's sharing expenses and sharing board directors and stuff like that. And then they use the C4 to engage in political action, which a C3 is not allowed to do. So the donors get a tax deduction. You know, you and I go broke paying taxes while these millionaires and billionaires, according to Bernie, would get tax deductions to the tune of millions of dollars. They're paying these lawyers 6- and 7-figure salaries to bring these. They don't care if that Maureen Comey lawsuit goes anywhere. It just generates huge bills for their law firms, gets them fodder for podcasts to talk about how they continue to sue Trump. Norm is going to post about it. I actually should just check today. I'm sure he's talking about, you know, suing Maureen Comey, suing Trump somewhere in there. I mean, it's all the guy talks about. But Ken, we're about to head over to the sponsor exclusive segment. We're going to talk about more of all of this. Anything you want to say just in the last moment here before we do that?
No, other than Norm better stop pissing away money because a lot of it is drying up. I mean, we just saw Bill Gates announce that he's not going to be funding these kind of patronage networks anymore. And actually, I think that might be kind of behind the spike in left-wing violence is that their money's drying up and they have a lot less to lose. I've seen a lot of conspiracies about Israel being involved in the Kirk case, and I just haven't seen any evidence of that yet. I think this is more of like liberals starting to lose their mind because they're not in power anymore.
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people coming up with a lot of different theories about who might have done it. And people have a tendency, you know, I did this whole series of videos about what looked to me like drones flying around. And so people were like, oh, so Israel did it? And I was like, well, wait a minute. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm just saying it looks like there are drones. That doesn't mean I know who flew them or why they were there or what. So that's the thing. And I appreciate this about you. There's a lot of people who start with a conclusion and then kind of backfill the evidence to fit their conclusion. You are very evidence. I think this is why you and I enjoy working together. We both are very evidence focused. And if the evidence says that Israel did this, I will absolutely point to that and talk about it. Right now, I just have evidence of insects being photographed and things leaving smoke trails. Did you see that smoke trail thing?
No, I have not.
Look at this. So this is this smoky thing. I mean, I don't know what kind of bird could possibly leave a smoke trail, but look at that, Ken.
Not the bird taking a shit.
Well, I wouldn't think so, but I mean, a drone, and a lot of people say, oh, drones don't leave smoke either. And while it's true that most drones are electrically powered, in my view, that is unmistakably a smoke trail right there coming out of the back of this thing. And so perhaps an electrically powered drone with a short circuit that's in the process of catching on fire might leave a smoke trail. The other thing that I learned yesterday, well, we'll talk about this during the sponsor exclusive segment because we got to run right now, but we'll get into these details, more about Iryna, more about Charlie Kirk. Join us, everybody. You can sponsor Ken on substack.com/@Ken Silva. Crowdsource the Truth sponsors can join us on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, on subscribestar.com, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We'll be